Thank you again for everybody coming out here. I want to introduce the man of the hour that's agreed to moderate it for us. I've known Coach for 10, 12 years now probably. Yep. Continue to sit back and watch his program grow. He is one of the largest coaches in the nation right now. He's actually the national coach for RE/MAX right now.
Got a national contract with RE/MAX, yes.
Yep, and several other nationwide companies. He's going to be moderating this. I ask a couple of things, a couple of house cleaning items before he comes up here. Bathroom is right outside the door. Please make sure to silent your phones. And then please do not run off when we end. We've got a little special treat for you, and we've got one ask from you. So, Coach,
nice.
Take it over,
nice.
man.
Thank you, man.
Thank
Proud
you.
of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome to the Greatness Factory. You know, right now in my coaching program, Monster Producer, we have about 600 people in that coaching program. And Sean is in the coaching program, and we're in a campaign right now to generate 125 referrals in the next 90 days. So one of the things we've been teaching our students is how to create an event, how to put something in the future, how to push a bunch of people to it, how to have a call to action, right? And then how to create a 7-touch follow-up after that. So I'm proud when I see people doing what we're coaching them to do, and he's a great person and a great student and very, very interested in his potential. Now I'm going to give you some stats before we get started that I always use when I'm coaching real estate agents. 67% of people use the very first person that contacts them in the real estate world. But one of the #1 complaints we hear is what? We can't get in touch with the agent. Now I want you to remember that. 67% of people don't use the best agent, the best looking agent, the most experienced agent. Which one do they use? First agent. But as a person becomes more sophisticated, that means they typically start to create more money. They become more educated on buying or selling real estate. They no longer use the first real estate agent. They use the which agent? The best agents. So I always say if I were going into another market and I wouldn't call down to the RE/MAX office and say, well, just send me any old agent. I would call down and I would say, who's the best agent? Who's the best negotiator? Who can regulate emotions better than anybody else? Who can get more eyeballs on the property? Who can creatively market something? That's what you need to start thinking. So remember these stats. It typically takes 7 to 15 touches 80% of the time to convert a prospect to a buyer. How many times do you think most agents go in the follow-up? Most people say 2. In my opinion, you're not even in the game if you're not going 7 to 15 touches. Does that make sense? So your follow-up is critical once a person indicates interest. The other thing I would tell you is the average person is going to buy 4 to 6 houses in their lifetime. How many of you have already bought 4 houses at some point? Okay, I'm 42 years old and I've already purchased 4 houses. That doesn't count the other houses that we purchased to rent. So if you were trying to represent a person, how many of those would you like to have? All of them. But here's the stat. 98% of agents never call a customer back once they put them in a home. 98% of agents never call a customer back once they put them in a home, okay? So the National Association of Realtors says that every stat should be worth 5.7 referrals over the lifetime of the consumer. So when you do the math, the way we get a 43% increase for a person is we go to work on these key areas. How do you explain your services? How do you work a selling system? How do you follow up like a professional? How do you service people after the sale? And if you just get great at those areas, which these people are, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to get an increase. How many people are losing money in one of those areas I just showed you? I tell my clients, all progress starts by telling the truth, right? I say it's going to do you no good to lie to me about this because I can't help you if you're not, okay? So I'm going to go, here's what I want to do. I've got a new book coming out called Inside the Mind of a Monster Producer. Inside the Mind of a Monster. These people are monster producers. What I want to know when I'm studying them is how do they think? How do they attack a day? How do they ask for referrals? How do they use social media? So let's start off over here and we'll go this way because you guys are doing some major production. Okay, I want to know, first question, how do you attack a day? How do you attack a day? Because I'm guessing you don't just go to the office and sit and wait on people to call, right?
That's correct.
All right, so let's hand them the microphone so we can hear you good. That's right. Okay, and I want to know first, how do you, when you come into a day, when you're planning your day, how do you attack the day?
So I don't know if it's good or bad, but the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I start going through my to-do list for the day. I go right into my home office, and for me, I like to get up early. I'm an early riser, and I've found great success in waking up early before I have any distractions. So I'm typically at 5:30 a.m., get in there, cup of coffee, and I have alone time in there of planning out my day. So anything that may have carried over from the day before, that's number one priority, and then kind of stack it from there. But that's how my day begins every day. And then usually from that 6 to 7 is sort of a power hour also. Again, before distractions, because in our world, 8:30, 9 o'clock hits, distractions are everywhere. So that's
good.
That's how I start.
Do you have dedicated times that you prospect every day?
No.
Okay. Do you think if you were coaching a young agent, would you tell them to have dedicated times to prospect?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is one thing I tell people. We prospect every day from 9 to 11. Nothing but outbound phone calls, and we can't deal with anything that occurred in the past during that time. So if we sold it last week, we got a problem with it, from 9 to 11, we don't deal with it. And I think a lot of people say we need to be prospecting more, but he's getting his day started correctly. Craig, like think about selling in the morning, solving the world's problems in the afternoon, right? So you got a routine, you stick to that routine, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, let's pass it on to Johnny or your wife.
My routine is the opposite of his. No, I make myself get up at 6:30 so I don't feel like a horrible mother. No, and Darren already wakes up our child and basically does everything in the morning, and then I go to the gym. No.
Nice.
Then I tackle my day about 8.
Okay.
Go, Johnny.
Good, thank you.
I'm typically up around 6 or so, drive to my office. I live in Smyrna and my office is in Nashville, so I try to beat the traffic, and I'll read a little bit when I get to my office. Actually, let me rewind. I usually scroll on Instagram while I'm in bed, like kind of half-eyed. That's the first thing I do, like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the day. Then I head to the office after I get ready, and I'll read and check my emails, check social media, and then start responding to emails, and that's how I get started.
Now, a lot of people are going to ask, if you get attention like Johnny gets attention through video, does that convert to business? Because there's brand awareness and there's brand insistence. Brand awareness is I know who Johnny is. Brand insistence is when I go to buy a house, I don't buy it from anybody but Johnny. So would you tell them how do you convert the views, no matter how many views you're getting, how do you use that as a lead generation to convert those?
Sure. So I think probably the best analogy is, I mean, you've got to have boots on the ground as well as having kind of the Air Force, like that high, like, stuff in the sky. And so the marketing for me is kind of like my Air Force. I'm terrible at follow-up, just being honest. But it has led to a lot of business. I've truthfully lost more business this year, though, from not following up and being able to respond to everything. So this year's been a little bit of a journey of making sure that I have the right systems and processes in place. So yeah.
So think about what he's saying there. He's generating business, but if he doesn't have a good 7-touch follow-up in place, he may say, I can jump from 10 to 15 million if I had a good 7-touch follow-up, right? I figured out how to get here, but that's one key missing structure that a lot of agents have. They don't have a good 7-touch system. And because of that, they just fall off the wagon, okay? But think about if you're getting attention with your promotion cycle like he is. You know, do you have that backup system, which he's saying he's going to work on that, okay? All right, good. All right, go ahead, Jessica.
Sean asked for honesty, so I'll be honest. I am not a morning person at all, so I do a lot of work at night, honestly. I make a to-do list in an app every night before I go to sleep that my assistant has access to so that she can start working. She starts working at 6:30 or 7 every morning because she is a morning person. So we're kind of opposite, I would say.
When did you make a decision to hire that person?
I have had an assistant for a little over a year now.
Yeah. So for all the people in the room that goes at this alone, as a little solopreneur doing your own thing, how big can you really get as one person? See, there's a difference between high value and low value of your time. The reason you have an assistant, so they can do the activities where you can keep you in your strength area. So I see a lot of agents that they'll get to 45 deals. That's the number of deals they can do by themselves, and they're never going to get to 60 or 80 or 100 because they won't hire a person. Mm-hmm. You got to start treating your business like a business. Not just I'm a realtor trying to get another deal. I'm running a business, and sometimes business we need more help. So I think that's an important point that she's mentioning, so she can spend time in the high value of your time, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
100%.
Okay, good. Go ahead. Okay.
Well, I have a 3-year-old at home, and so I have to get up a little earlier. I'm up at 4 in the morning to do my cardio time, and then my wife goes to the gym while I'm doing cardio in the basement. She comes home, then I go to the gym, and we kind of pull the switch in the morning while we have a 3-year-old at home. So I'm usually at the office after all of that said and done by 8 o'clock. I have a printed schedule that I go off of every day on the 30-minute ticker of what I'm doing. And typically until about 11:30 are standing meetings with my team, my listing manager, training manager, and some of my sales team that we're meeting with to get their day started. And so prospect time for me doesn't happen until after lunch typically, because my morning is just scheduled every day. But I think the big takeaway for me on that is every morning I have, like Darren, I have a printed schedule. I'm reviewing my schedule and I go in, and that's how I attack the morning and the day.
All right, so let me ask this question based on what he said. How many of you prospect in the mornings? How many of you need to prospect in the mornings? How many of you prospect at some point during the day, later in the afternoon? Any theory on when the best time to prospect is? Trevor, what do you think?
In the afternoon when people kind of settle back on the things that they need to do. Because typically we make priorities in the morning, get a hard start, and then we can kind of fit in taking the phone call in the afternoon possibly.
Okay. I don't think there's a right or wrong here. I think as long as you're doing it. Every day you're focused on new money. New money, new money, new money, new money, new money, right? We prospect in the morning because statistics show us that people are more open and receptive in the morning. They get a little bit grumpy in the afternoon when they get tired. But I don't think it matters, to be honest with you, as long as you're doing it, right?
I personally think that can change. So if I'm 3 months out of the year, I'm getting great talk-tos and people are answering the phone. There's other times of the year, like holidays, we're going into fourth quarter, I think that time could change, and so you have to pay attention to it.
It's good.
And I think as long as it's structured daily where you're going to do it, that's the important thing.
It's good. Okay, great. All right, how do you attack a day, big guy?
So typically what I do is I get up almost every day around 5 o'clock a.m. What I do is before I even get up, I'll do my devotional. It takes me about 15 minutes and I'll pray. And then when I leave, I'll get up. I won't wake up the wife, but I'll get up. I'll go to the gym about 5:30, 5:45, work out for about an hour, and then I get home. But when I get home is kind of when my day starts as far as work-wise. I also have a 30-minute incremental schedule. Typically on Sunday nights, I take about an hour to 2 hours, depending on how long it's going to take, to where I schedule out my whole week. I don't schedule out every 30 minutes. Typically, I'll put something called green time. I'm sure a lot of us have heard of that. But I'll schedule as much 30-minute increments as possible. You know, you always schedule things the week prior for the next week, whether it's a lunch, a dinner, or something, right? We'll put your major categories in, and then the rest of it you can put as green time or your power hours, which I have once a day, sometimes twice a day. If I have nothing to do that day, I'll just make it a double power hour. I'll separate those typically, but that's kind of how I start.
Notice that none of these people said, sleep in till 9 or 9:30, roll out of bed, go down to Waffle House and eat a good breakfast. Right? I'm not saying they don't. I'm not
talking
saying,
a weekend?
You understand what I'm saying? Okay? I'm saying it's okay to eat the Waffle House. I'm just saying a lot of these folks, the commonality is what? They get up early. They're disciplined. They're getting some type of physical activity in the morning. Do a study on the wealthy people in this country and see if they don't get up early. 87% of them get up early and do some physical activity first thing in the morning. Okay? And if you told me 87% of people do something, 87% of the top 100 people in the Forbes all have real estate portfolios. They have real estate in their portfolio. There's common things that these people have that they're doing to be successful. So the question is, are you going to be disciplined to that? Okay, now, so thank you for sharing your morning routines and what you do every day. Now, let's go back to you guys, Darren and Christina, and let me ask this question. Lead generation, okay? Lead generation. Lots of agents struggle to generate enough leads, okay? So they're constantly trying to figure out, how do I get more leads? We've got some people that have been in the business in here for literally 4 to 6 months. They're going to get a lot of counsel and coaching about what to do. Buy this, do this, go on social media, go to this person. Okay? How would you tell them if you were going back and redoing your career about lead generation? How would you coach an agent on to really go out and generate a bunch of leads?
there's more than one way to skin a cat. But what we have found successful for us is personal relationships, in nurturing those, and constantly. If she and I, and we both do it, if we're driving down the road and there's somebody pops in our head, there's a client or potential client or friend or whatever it may be we haven't talked to for a while, we pick up the phone and call. We stay in touch with people. So that's, for us, it's been really the second half of our careers here. Earlier on, it was different.
I think earlier on it was open houses and partnering. That was a big, so when I started at Crylike, and Crylike's a great company, but I'm almost starved to death because I could not quit my night job because I wasn't making enough doing my day job. So I went on site for a builder. And what I learned for the builder was the discipline and the hours to put in. So I was expecting to make a full-time income working part-time real estate. And I see a lot of people do that. They work 2 or 3 hours a day. I'm like, yeah, but what'd you really do? And they didn't really do anything. Yep. So when I think about that, and I feel like I've said this before to other people, so I'm sorry if you've heard the story before, but I found agents that had new construction that, in my opinion, they weren't manning a model. And if it was staged, I would volunteer and say, hey, nobody's there on Friday, you mind if I have Friday? Because I thought the odds of someone walking in that house were more likely than walking in my home office as a lead. And that's how I picked up leads in the beginning, is working open houses and going to events and going to open houses as well, because you really can form a relationship with the on-site agents if you're popping in and saying hi. So, and most of the time they're bored out of their mind if it's during the week.
So do you subscribe to and use a selling system? About a number of coordinated strategies that you're using to get your phone to ring, to generate leads? Would you say you use multiple strategies to go out there? I mean, you're obviously doing something to do the amount of volume you're doing. Is when you come into the day, beyond just calling on your personal relationships, what other strategies would you say you use to generate?
I think I know for me personally, about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I've focused heavily on, I wanted to pick up channel accounts. And channel accounts it's a fancy way of saying repeat clients. So I began working very, very heavily with investors. So I can have one person who's going to buy, or one company, institution, REIT, will buy 50 homes per year. Yep. And builders, same thing. That's one personality to to work with. Some you deal with. But you're going to have 25 transactions per year from that one. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough time in the day to close 200 transactions in a year and not have a whole staff of 20 assistants. So, for us, we prospected heavily to find channel accounts because it's a very efficient way to sell real estate because you have less personalities to deal with. Now, does that help answer?
Yeah. Here's what I want you to remember. You can wake up and fish for bluegill, or you can wake up and fish for blue marlins. A channel account is a blue marlin account. It's a feeder system. So one person buying 50 homes, one person feeding you. See, most people think I'm going to get one person at a time and one person at a time. And in my world is I don't want to get one RE/MAX agent. I want to get all RE/MAX agents. Does that make sense? So I don't want to speak at one event. I want to speak at R4. So I got to get your mind thinking what he's talking about is we need to be fishing for bigger fish. We need to be thinking blue marlin versus bluegill. That channel account is feeding his business there, okay? So imagine having 5 of those. Most people got one good strong account that's feeding you business. Imagine having 25 of those. Okay? So that's what's helped you. All right, Johnny, when I say selling system, lead generation, give us your top 3 strategies to generate leads.
Sure. So I really only have 2. I started new construction like Christina and really value being able to, put in hours. New construction definitely taught me that sitting on site. I love open houses, and so I think my system for open houses, if I don't do the right things on the front end, then it's a waste of time. But if I can get out there, I'll typically put out about 50 signs for an open house and put out a corresponding ad on Facebook, not a public ad, but just one that runs from my business page, promoting the open house. And if I can do those 2 things, the open house is usually a success, meaning unrepresented buyers coming in or sellers that are impressed by just the amount of signage. And then we get belly to belly, and that's the easy part. I mean, if you're in real estate, y'all know that's the easy part. And so that's number 1. And then number 2 is I'm really big on Facebook ads. So the videos I use more for kind of top of mind marketing. I've been kind of working on some things to turn those into more of a lead generator, but they've been great so that I can stay top of mind and build my sphere. but just Facebook ads, those are always running for me in the background. I cut them off actually recently to work on follow-up and putting the right stuff in place so that I could be able to service them better.
Are you creating those Facebook ads, or are you paying someone to create those for you?
I create them myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many agents in here are using Facebook ads? Okay. Anybody spending a significant amount of money right now on this? You say significant. You want to share how much that is? Okay. Because that's good. We're spending $8,000 a month right now for me to get more views on my videos, because every person that was coaching me was like, man, we got to get more views. You got to get more views, and the only way to get more views is to pay for it. Okay. So but he's doing it. Anybody in the room can do this. Okay. I'm sure he could show you how to do it, but you can do it yourself. And that's just getting you more exposure, because if you're getting seen by 3 or 4 people, you know. My real estate agent did a video, a real creative video. When I sold my last house, he had 12,000 views on it the first night. And all he did was hire a videographer. He paid $250. We walked through the house. I explained why I built certain things customized. He took it and turned it into almost like just a video that played with music in the background. First night had 12,000 views with boosted. And we sold it that day, basically. Does that make sense? So it's not complicated, but these are some strategies that you need to be using, okay? All right, Jessica, we're talking about lead generation. How many different ways do you generate new business?
My biggest is just my sphere, honestly. I volunteer for everything. I go to everything. I go to every event I can go to. I'm just there. So that would be my biggest. And then Facebook. I do really well on Facebook. I don't really run ads anymore, but a lot of the yard sale groups, honestly, believe it or not. So.
How many calls do you make a day?
A lot.
A lot? 50?
I would say at least 40. I try to lead gen from 10 to 11, okay, and usually 2 to 3, because I can't sit still for 2 hours.
Okay.
So
when you say sphere of influence, are you talking 25 people? You talking 75 people? You talking 1,000 people?
I have a database of 4,500 people right now.
And you're hitting all of those databases? All those people in the database, X number per day?
I would say I probably focus on about 200 to 250 of them, really hardcore. But I do a lot of pop buys for my past clients. So that's something I get a lot from. I try to hit every holiday. I've rented Santa already and already sent out Santa invites for pictures, and all my clients already signed up. So do a lot of cute crap, as someone referred to it as.
Now, there's 2 philosophies here I want you to think about. Some people believe in working a database of 400 people, and they're going to call 10 on Monday, and 10 on Tuesday, and 10 on Wednesday, and 10 on Thursday, and they're going to be in a cycle. Okay? That's a philosophy, and that works for some people. I believe in working 25 strong relationships and getting 3 to 5 referrals out of 25 people. I believe I can focus more time and attention on 25 people, and I can go deeper with them. And I believe I'll get 75 referrals a year out of those 25 people if they're the right 25. Both of those philosophies work, by the way. You just need one of them going. Either you're going to have a top 25 and work it, or you're going to go with 400 or a deep database and calling on these people and staying top of mind with those people. Okay? All right, good. Thank you.
I think it's important to have all of that going. So we mail to our database, which includes all of our past clients that we chose to keep in the database. There's some that we just decide we don't want to mail to at that point, or they've moved away. We also have a top 25 that we work. So those VIPs, we work by doing events once a month. They're invited to our personal house for Christmas parties, things like that, and they do refer quite a bit of business. And then we'll actually have 2 events a year. One of them is actually coming up where we're actually catering drinks and dinner in for, I think we have roughly 100 coming to that. And so the relationship piece is huge.
Yes.
I think about 80% of our business last year was all referred, and then some of our business comes from, I know a lot of people don't like this word anymore, but we get a lot of business still from Zillow. We have a lot of reviews that are out there. And we get them from not even zip codes that we're in. It's just off of reviews and being present on there. And it's just, you know, it's one of those things like, for me, I'm not a huge fan of social media. I need to get with you and start, because I'm not even touching that. But it's one of those necessary things that's out there that I mean, you're not going to say no to the business as it comes in from there. So that's a portion of our business too.
How many of you on the panel buy leads?
Spend money on ads.
Okay, so you guys don't buy any leads? All relationship driven? There you go. Now, that goes to show you, get to $100 million of production without buying leads. That's impressive.
But there's not a place I go that people don't know I sell real estate.
Yeah.
If you're on the treadmill next to me, I'll bring you up.
Okay, so Johnny's buying ads. You're telling people at the gym,
Everywhere.
right? Okay, you guys are buying leads. Where are you buying them from?
Google AdWords.
Google AdWords. Okay. Small spend, big spend.
Spend about $1,000 a month.
Okay. Okay. Where are you buying leads at?
Some through Zillow.
Okay, so there's
We spend about $4,000 a month there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Tell us your lead generation system.
One I always go back to. I use a lot of everything that we've all talked about, so I'm not going to dive deep into that. But I'd say one that honestly a lot of us kind of forget about is what I call my Frank list, which is it's an acronym: friends, relatives, associations, neighbors, and coworkers. With that list, you put 20 of each. So you go through and you go from the closest relationship you have in your family down to the 20th person. Might be somebody you don't talk to, but at a family event once a year. And then same with, that's friends, and then relatives, and then associations. If you ever, we're in a sorority, fraternity, I wasn't. But just any type of association that you're with, neighbors, any neighbor you've ever had. Doesn't have to be one that you have right now, but somebody that you've had a relationship before, reach back out to them, but come up with 20 of all of those. And then coworkers, of course, as a realtor, you can get referrals from other realtors. Good source, by the way. So keep that in mind. But I'd say coworkers are like anywhere that you worked prior to real estate. I worked for Comcast, but I worked for Comcast in Best Buy. So I worked at every Best Buy that's in Middle Tennessee, and I've reached out to a ton of the people that were there because when I was there, they were younger. Now they're first-time home buyers. So I'm getting a lot of business from that as well.
That's good. That's good. All right, I want to break right here for just a second, and I want you to tell the people at your table one thing that you've gotten already that you're going to go back and do something different in. What is one thing that you've gotten that you're like, when I leave here, that's an area I'm going to go to work on, okay? So take a second and talk about that.
I want to learn more about these channel accounts. Ultimately, I'm going to come over there.
All right, you guys will pay attention here. Now, let me show you something. Let me show you something. Now, when you're looking at generational type thinking, okay? Every generation is a little bit different in how they attack it, okay? I'm 42. I'm a grinder. I'm get in the office. How many of you guys go to the office on a consistent basis? Okay, they don't, y'all do, okay? So what you're seeing is different thought patterns. Like I said, my thought pattern is get in there, get on the phones, grind it out, make phone calls, prospect 2 hours a day, every day minimum. But that's kind of the way I was raised. Does that make sense? You may come to me and say you could generate a lot more by doing more social media, or by doing this, by doing that. You see the differences in generations in how people attack their day. Okay, but they're all successful in their own way. There's no one way to get there. Like Darren said, there's different ways to get there every day. Some people go to the office every day. Some people, I would say if you don't have discipline, personal self-discipline, you don't need to be at home in your pajamas prospecting. If you're early in your career, you need to get your butt in the office because that's where the energy is, and you need to get around other people who can help you. And you need to get in there and prospect together and tackle the day together. If you're more experienced and you can handle, you have discipline, you can work from wherever you want to work. Okay? So you got to decide. But Johnny said this a minute ago. You still got to do the work. You still got to put the time in. It's not magically going to happen, okay? So let's get into follow-up, okay? Once a person indicates interest, Johnny's like, oh, no, we don't talk about follow-up. Come on, Johnny. Once a person indicates interest in your services, talk to us about how you personally follow up, okay? Start us off over there.
So Derek and I were just having a conversation sort of about this in a way. But so once somebody generates interest, you have to be a value add. So what's your value add proposition to that client, okay? What makes you different than calling somebody else? So if there's interest, they clearly want to list a home or they want to buy a home. How can you be of value to them? Now, I hate to be so vague, that's going to be different for each person, right? But cater something specific to that person. We were talking about rental properties in the value add proposition. As a realtor, you could have somebody wanting to buy a rental property, but it's different. So somebody buying a regular home, listing a home, but what can you do specifically different for that person and give your value add proposition? That'd be my answer for that.
That's good. The purpose of the follow-up is to solve a problem that they have. Money changes hands when problems are solved. It's not to call and say, I'm just checking in, just wonder if you have any questions. I had one real estate agent say once to me, I woke up this morning thinking about you. I'm like, man, that is so creepy. Don't tell people that. But this is what a lot of people do, checking in, wondering if you have any more questions. Are you ready to get going? Like Darren said, when you call back, you need to have something to say. There's two strategies I'm looking at using here. There's three things I want to do. There's two ways I think we can get this done. I just did this for somebody just like you. Be a value-added person. Don't just call and say, hey, are you ready to get started? The follow-up is critical. And most people screw this up by how they follow up in such a pitiful way. You screw it up once by only going 1 or 2 touches. You got to go the distance in 7. Do you guys believe in going that many touches, or do you make up your mind? Is there a touch number that you go and then you say, I'm out?
I'd say we're a little undisciplined from that standpoint. We don't have a system, the number of touches, and we would improve our business if we did. So just being honest about that. So we do follow up. We feel it's probably an appropriate number of times, but certainly we'll probably lose business by not doing it enough.
What about speed to follow up? Do you have a personal philosophy in how fast you follow up with someone who indicates interest in you?
I'm a huge believer in strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
This is a momentum-based industry, hugely momentum-based industry. Right. You have to be on top of it.
Remember the word deal fatigue. Deal fatigue was where a person was interested and you lost their attention because you lost the momentum. You didn't follow up fast enough. You didn't stay in their face long enough. You didn't keep coming back to them. How many of y'all were interested in something one day only not to be interested the next day? Okay? So you got to attack it, man, like a cheetah, okay? Not a turtle. Johnny, it's up to you now. Show us your follow-up.
Cool. So, open house. I'm reflecting. I'm actually pretty good at follow-up. Okay, it's just I don't have a system. All right, I'm just a hustler. You know, I can't. It's hard to like, you know. So if you come to my open house, I'm sending you a video text like right when you leave. If you're a buyer, hey, it was so great meeting you. I'll send you some homes that fit your criteria when I leave the open house. And so when I leave the open house, I'll email them. So that's 2 touches, like pretty quick. And then for sellers, same thing, but I'm sending them comps for their home if they gave me their address. And then internet leads, this is where it gets hard, and like social media. I'm actually hiring an ISA right now because it's hard to keep up with the flow, honestly. So.
Are you hiring people to keep up with the flow? Is that part of your plan?
I'm hiring them now. Yeah,
okay.
I'm hiring one now, and they'll probably start next week.
Okay. Remember the first stat we said when we started? Which % of people use the very first person that contacts them? 67%. It's almost 7 out of 10 people use the very first agent. How many of you guys used the first agent when you bought a house? First agent that called you? I did, because I didn't know any better. I didn't use them again, but I used them the first time, right? A lot of people do that, okay? All right, keep going. Jessica, talk about your follow-up.
So I've been referred to as the friendly stalker before.
Ooh, I like this. My kind of girl.
My very first listing, I called, texted, emailed, wrote her letters 10 weeks in a row, and she finally called me and said, when can you just come over here and put the sign in the yard already? And I thought, okay. If I talk to someone about listing their house, I have an email set up already that has all my pre-listing information on it, all my team stats, all of that goes out to them after our initial conversation before, regardless of whether we've set a meeting or not yet. So they get that. That happens right when we get off the phone. So I'll automatically, kind of like a video text, but via email. If I meet with anybody the next day, if I have their address, I always send them a handwritten card. For sure. So I'm really big on handwritten cards.
All right, what about this? What's your follow-up after a person purchases a house?
Purchase a house?
From you.
A week after closing, I send an email out with all of my links where all my reviews are, and I ask them, the subject actually says, tell everyone how awesome I am. And I would say pretty much every single person does the review, so. And then I stalk them until they do the review if they don't.
Are there more touches after that?
Yes. I touch them every holiday. I send them a birthday card. I send their kids a birthday card. I send them an anniversary card for their home anniversary. I send them a card for their wedding anniversary.
Okay. Good. Anybody know when buyer's remorse kicks in? When the buys a house? Buyer's remorse. Within 30 seconds after signing the papers. Why? They're scared.
Last night.
They're scared. I just bought this. Can I afford it? What's going to happen? Can I keep going? If I was giving you advice and coaching you, I'd say call them the day of. Congratulate them on a beautiful house. Call them 2 days after. Call them 2 weeks after. Call them 2 months after. Stay in their face, man. But that day, after the closing, get in your car and call them. Congratulations. You just bought a beautiful house. Thank you for letting me represent you on this. Because a lot of people are excited and scared at that moment. Okay? So just remember that. Buyer's remorse kicks in within 30 seconds of signing the papers. Okay? All right?
And something else, I send a card out for their new construction 11-month checkup, too, to remind them, and that's been a big hit.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, go ahead, Blake. We're talking about your follow-up system.
Follow-up. So follow-up on a buyer before closing. That we're actively looking with. I usually make the initial call, and then I have Christy actually, she does a lot of the follow-up for me because I get stuck in meetings. And I call her my little secret weapon. She's very good at follow-up and great on the phone, but 7-8 times at least we're following up. When we have a lead come in, you said something about an automatic email. We have everything automated. When we have a lead come in on any platform, they get an automated video that is me and her recorded that goes directly to them. So it's an initial hit, immediate, because if you wait, what I think, longer than 5 minutes to call them back, the chances of them going to the next number, because they're hitting that rotary, they're scared that house is going to be sold because of the way the market is. They're calling someone else, and it stings when you call that lead back that you've spent time and energy to have, and all of a sudden they say, well, I've already got appointments set, I've already talked to someone. Yeah, so.
Yeah, the friendly stalker got me.
So I think within first 5 minutes they have to have a phone call if possible, or at least a text. And then if they're unresponsive there, because I'm a big phone call person, I personally hate text and email, but this is the day that everybody wants to communicate with text and email. So we actually call, text, email.
How many of you use video just on your phone where you send a person back a video, where you film it? Okay? So if you're not doing this is simple. Put that phone up in front of your face, saying, hey, I love seeing you, showing you this property. There's 2 things we need to do. Text it to them. It's a real effective way because it rekindles that energy that they had with you when they saw you face to face. That's what you're trying to do.
We use BombBomb as a video system. It works pretty good.
Yep.
I already know what you look like.
All right, we're talking about when a person indicates interest in your services. What's your follow-up system?
So I'm going to go the route of a referral. I don't think we've talked too much about that. But whenever I get a referral, it doesn't matter where it comes from, referral's a referral. Whether you're getting 25% from somewhere out of state or you're getting a referral from your dad. But I'll give you, for instance, I got a referral from my dad last week. He met a guy at a bar, I think, and the guy said he wanted to buy a house. I don't know how this got started. I just don't ask questions. I'm like, give me his number. But he gave me his number. I called him. This started last Monday. He gave it to me on Sunday. I first asked him, because he has the relationship, to let him know I will be contacting him on Monday. I contacted him Monday. He did not answer the phone. I left him a voicemail. I shot him a text. I also had his email, and I sent him an email follow-up as well to my voicemail. After I did that, I waited a day. I called him again, texted him again, emailed him again. I waited 2 days. I called him and texted him. I also called my dad at that point, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, if you don't mind reaching out to him, letting him know that I've contacted him. It might be better coming from you since you're the referral source. I immediately got a call back. And typically, if I was to do that and go throughout the process and nobody had answered, I would put them on a drip campaign where I'd email them at least twice a month. So.
He used a concept there I want you to remember called tagging. We call it tagging. So he hit him and his dad hit him. A lot of times in my office, I'll hit somebody, my salesperson hit him. Okay? And we tag them, okay? Because I may hear it different. You know, his dad is the influencer there, right? So you need to remember, use your biggest clients. If you're working on a big deal, have your biggest clients call on that person. Okay? A lot of people don't leverage the people around them. Okay, if I'm working on a really big client, I have my top paying customer. I'll pick up the phone and call him and I say, will you take lunch with him? Will you meet him? And he says, absolutely. So that one person can overcome a lot of objection without you in the equation. Okay, so tag those people. Okay, very important. Do you guys believe you need a 7-touch system or at least a good follow-up mechanism in place?
I'm sure it'd help. Yeah, absolutely.
So we look at the volume they're doing, and even they would tell you there may even be more volume if we just had a good 7 touches in place. Most agents do not have this in place. So I feel like they just lose some money there. Okay?
And another thing, just to kind of go on top of that, is, you know, that person that you get referred to or whoever it is that you end up getting in contact with, I'd say the biggest thing that I actually learned from him was, instead of looking at them as a referral and you have to make a phone call, look at it as they are 10 deals deep, including theirself. So instead of it being, oh, I'm just calling to get a deal, I hope this thing works out, you're calling to say, this person might become my biggest referral source. Everybody can be that. So that's something that I think has really changed my business.
Okay. Sean tells me it's break time, so we're going to take a short break. I was a high school teacher for a long time. Here's what I remember. The average attention span of a high school student, 14 minutes. Then I went out and spoke to 100,000 real estate agents, and I figured out the average attention span of a real estate agent is exactly half of that, 7 minutes. So we got to keep it moving, okay? So let's take a short break, 5 or 7 minutes, then we're going to come back. Now, if you notice what I'm asking the agents, I'm basically going through a cycle. How they attack their day, how they generate leads through a selling system, how they follow up. These are key components to being successful. Okay? Now we're going to move into how they extract referrals. Now, we said that every transaction should be worth 5.7 referrals over the lifetime of the consumer. Most agents do not ask for referral and they do not follow up after the sale. And like I said, we're in a campaign right now to generate 125 referrals in 90 days. We generated 60 the first week. Okay? So I think we can do it in 30 days. We don't need 90 days. But it's by being very intentional and asking very specific questions and really getting your client to such a better place in their life that they want to fight for you in the market. Okay? So let's talk about, let's go around and let's talk about what your strategy is to generate referrals. Okay? Let's start on this side.
Oh, man. I'd say, where do I want to start? I know. I got caught off guard. I'd say, let's go through a contract, right? So contract to close. A lot of us have a contract to close coordinator. That's great. If you do, it's very helpful. If you don't, it's still a great way for you to generate referrals. I'd say it's almost like a touch follow-up, but ultimately, I do a Tuesday status update. I know a lot of us in here do. But on a Tuesday status update, every Tuesday, I update my client on any information that I have outside of just the lending side, because the lender, I know, Sean, does a Tuesday status update as well. But during that update, after I give it, I ask how they're doing, and then I ask for the referral. Hey, look, Are you happy with this process? How's everything going so far? Are you excited? Yes, absolutely. Perfect. Well, look, I like working with people like you. You and I get along great. Would you agree? Yes. Awesome. Well, look, I want to help people that are just like you. Who else do you know that I could help? And every Tuesday they get that hit. They know it's coming, but they think about it. And they might think about it over that week. But that's during my Tuesday. And then also I do it at closing. I don't do it at the closing table, but I do follow up with them after the closing to ask them, hey, look, congratulations, kind of like Coach Burt said. I hope you're really excited. And all the time they are. I mean, unless it was just really rocky. But typically it's not, especially with Sean. But ask them at that point, hey, look, great process. Always reinforce the fact that you loved working with them specifically, because it just works well. But that would be what I would suggest.
I think it's key to ask for that referral during the contract process more than post-closing. Even if it's a great experience with the lender, it's a great experience with the realtor or mover, it's a stressful process once they get closed. And so they're going to be stressed out, and the last thing they're going to be thinking about once they've closed is getting you a referral. I think the hottest time to call them is anytime you have a positive piece of information. Hey, the appraisal came in at value, or came in over value, or hey, we got the inspection repairs negotiated, everything's all good. Every time you deliver a positive piece of information and they're excited, you have to ask them, hey, I know you're probably sharing this. Just like when you buy a car, you start seeing all the same cars all over the road. When you're buying a house, they're sharing that experience with their friends, family, and everybody else. And so if you ask during that contract process, I would say 80 or higher % chance that they're actually going to refer you a client while they're excited and emotions going through the process than after closing when they are just ready to be done with the whole thing. Because the underwriting process is invasive. You know, even with a perfect experience, they don't want to deal with it post-closing. But we do have a 1 week, 1 month, and 1 year follow-up where we do ask for that referral. But I think it's key to ask for it through the process.
Now, before we move on, I want to extract something. I agree that the best time to ask for referral is in the beginning. You live with anybody long enough, you'll find something you don't like about them. The best time to ask for referral, I said that my wife was in the room one night. I'm like, not you, sweetie. Never you, but you understand. But my point is, the hottest time is, to me, between contract and close, when they're hot. And when you're giving them good reports, this thing is moving down the road. It's working exactly like we want it to. Association breeds assimilation. So Sean asked me to mention the preset of the referral. I ask a person before I even start. I say, Renee, if this goes well, and I expect it to, okay, and when you're happy at the end with the product or service we give and we got you to a much better place, I'm going to want to work with all your friends. Sound like a good deal? When I did the RE/MAX thing, before I went out on tour, the very first thing I said is, if this goes well like I think it's going to, I want to go ahead and secure my spot at R4 to speak before I even started. Does that make sense? So I think you can preset that question. If it goes well, we think it is. When it's over, I'd love to work with your friends, because we believe like gravitate toward like. We believe positive people gravitate toward other positive people. And that's the kind of people we want to work with. So I'm glad you brought that up. Don't ask. Some people ask at the closing table. Like I said, they're just excited to get in the house. You need to be asking throughout the whole process in a soft way, not in a creepy way, but in a soft way, okay? So that's good. Jessica, how do you generate referrals?
I'm never afraid to ask. I ask all the time. I have, 2 or 3 right now. I do a lot of relocations. I always ask, so is your family going to follow you? You know, when are they going to come? I have right now I have someone's brother who just closed with me this summer. I now have a referral from another agent that's now turned into 4 transactions. All of her friends followed her. We went house shopping. I had 17 people with me. Yeah, that was fun. They like to drink wine, so we were good. You know, I just always ask. I had a listing appointment from one of those crazy Facebook yard sale posts, and she ended up not listing because she wasn't ready. But I said, okay, that's totally fine. When you're ready, call me. But who do you know that wants to list now? And I've now closed both of her family members. So I just always ask.
Yeah. I like that.
The worst they can say is no.
Good. Good.
I agree with everything everyone said, particularly Blake and you, Coach. When they're the most jacked up, I just soft ask. So right after contract, they're super excited to break the news to them. There's a soft ask right after that, or if I do some sort of marketing material that they really like, soft ask after that. But just really in tune to when they're really excited and just ask. Yeah. Yeah.
How many of you are not asking for referrals right now? Be honest. You're not asking enough. Yeah. You got to be relentless with this, man. Do you believe in your product or service or not? If you got some conviction about yourself, the only reason people don't ask is because they don't have enough conviction. If you got conviction, it ought to be just coming out of you. Like, why in the world would you want to work with somebody else other than me? Okay? So you got to have some, I mean, you got to have some pop about you. That's why I like Jessica. She's got kind of a hardcore side to her. I like that, right? Like she ain't afraid. That's why I like that. Okay? All right, what about you guys? What's your philosophy on generating referrals?
I feel like we're really going to disappoint you with what we say. And I hope it doesn't come across cocky or arrogant. I know they're going to use me again because I'm going to do a great job.
Good.
So I have all the confidence in the world they're going to use me again. So I don't actually say, would you refer people to me? Do you think I did good?
Yep.
Do you like what I did? I'll do it for someone else. At all. I never do that.
Yep.
What I do is I bond with them. I think I do a good job. I like them. I friend request them on all their social media. I say, is it okay if I post a picture of the house you just purchased? Because some people don't like that, especially if it's a really big house. They get embarrassed. And they say, yes. I go, do you mind if I tag you when I post it? And then they will say, thank you so much, Christina and Darren. You did such a great job. And I go, oh, thank you. Let me know if you have anybody of your friends. And I kind of do it a little bit more like that. So I don't think of it as I'm afraid to ask for the business because I'm getting the business, but I do it in a different way that works better for my personality. And that's the cool thing about real estate is pretty much everything that the Wilson team does, that you guys do, I admire, but I do like the opposite way, and it works for me and my personality, so I like that they can do it that way, and it works for their personality. So.
Well, Christina brought up a good point. I think one of the worst questions in the world is to call another person and say, do you know anybody buying or selling real estate right now? Like, I don't know who came up with that question, but it's an awful question. Puts a person on the defensive. It's like, no, I don't know anybody. So to Christina's point, I don't think you need to ask people in an odd way. Like, do you know anybody who can help me, refer me? Sometimes I say, I believe like gravitates toward like, and I love working with you. And I would probably love working with some of your friends if we got you to a much better place. You see what I'm saying? Or there's probably 5 people in your network that I don't know that I need to know. You know, I don't think you need to make it creepy and ask a way that people feel like, oh my gosh, man. You know, but her point is right on. If you get them to a better place in their life and they love you, it's going to be very easy. They're going to want to fight for you in the market. Yes or no? Yep. If you don't have anything to do with them, don't talk to them, then they're going to say, I'm not fighting for this person. Okay, so she used key words, bond, get to know them on Facebook, build a relationship, connect with them in her way. It's very critical to building this long-term deal. Darren, you want to add anything to that?
Very similar from that aspect, and I think that I use a theory. We went to a restaurant the other night, and we left there, and the food was absolutely exceptional. They didn't ask us to, are you going to come back here again? Will you tell people about this? We left there, and we told people about it, and we're going back there again. And that's the theory that we kind of use. Like everything that we do in the process, we try to make it absolutely exceptional so that it resonates with them. So
well, that leads into our next. So I want you to keep the microphone because we're moving into your philosophy about customer service. Because if most agents see the person they're representing as a kind of a nuisance to them, and there's no way you can build a great experience for the people you help if you see them as, well, I don't want to talk to them, I don't want to have anything to do with them. So what's your philosophy about the customer experience?
I think it's got to be Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I feel about it. Every aspect of it. It's very broad and very vague. And there's so many things that come up, but it has to be that way if you want to have this business be exponential for you. Yep. So exponential meaning your referrals continue to grow and grow while your new business comes in, and it should be for everybody.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think about, there was a day, I mean, it sucked, but it's one of those things you could do. We were at a client of ours, he was kind of a challenge, and he set up, he thought he had a line of people to unload his moving truck and so on, and he got to his house, like, oh my God, and this guy's got a cane, and he's like, I'm kind of stuck here alone buying my vacation home from California, and I got a moving truck here, and the HOA is going to kick me out of here, came a moon truck overnight. I called the next appointment I had, I canceled it, took my suit jacket off, with my clothes like this, we unloaded the truck.
Yeah.
I don't suggest you do that every day. But it's things like that, no matter what aspect of the business,
Yeah.
just make it happen and be exceptional.
Yeah.
So.
And make it right, you know, like in that scenario. I think the customer experience is, I'm either going to do this again or I'm not. Every customer is going to either be a promoter, passive, detractor, or an advocate when the experience is over. Okay? If you want to get those 6 referrals, they got to be out at promoter, okay? So all right. Johnny, what's your customer service strategy?
So Trey Lewis, y'all know Trey Lewis, manager at Old South, manager of sales at Old South. That's where I started right when I got my license, and I had a million questions, and he was like, Johnny, man, it's really simple. Make a friend, sell a house. Make a friend, sell a house. Keep it really simple. And that's just what I do. I really like to befriend my clients and just get to know about them, love up on them, and we become friends throughout the transaction. And like Christina and Darren said, I just kind of expect them to send me business.
Okay, it's good, simple. Jessica?
I would say just always doing the right thing, even when it's not the easiest. You know, I had a really good friend. We were supposed to close. They had relocated. The cleaner didn't show up. I went to their house. I cleaned their entire house, 3,500 square feet, 4 hours, showed up to closing in my workout gear. I think you guys remember that day, yeah? Mm-hmm. It was real cute. And I could have not done that. I could have been like, well, we'll just have to hold off closing and do it tomorrow, and they would have had to go home and come back. But I was like, it's cool, I'll get it done. So, you know, and now I've gotten 2 or 3 referrals off of them, and they tag me and everything on Facebook. So, yeah. Merry maids, you know, whatever it takes.
Sorry, that's good. Blake, go ahead.
I think, just like Darren said, client experience is everything, and I think that that's been one of the biggest struggles for me, is seeing people that don't take it serious and don't treat it like a career. And it's a problem in our industry right now of people, and I call them the onesie-twosies. They just, you know, they run into a deal, they don't know how to take care of the deal, it blows up, and then, you know, now I think probably in 3 or 4 years we're going to be fighting that same battle of the stipulation or stigma of realtors and what a realtor is. And I think that we have to take it very serious. This is family's largest investment. We do it every day, and we can get caught up in, you know, 30, 40 deals in a month, and it's a deal, but every single family, that's everything to them. And so if you're not taking that serious, you're missing the mark.
Okay, good.
So like everything y'all just said is spot on, and I'm going to piggyback on most of it. So like Jessica had just said a minute ago, I actually did somewhat of the same thing for a friend of mine that needed somebody to help him move. Actually, Johnny's wife came over and helped too. It was an all hands on deck type of situation. Yeah, very long story. But ultimately, just the going above and beyond, like you're gonna face situations and times where it's not what you want to do. Like I did not want to help somebody move, but I knew it was the right thing to do. And no matter what, as long as your integrity is high, your character's high, I think you'll be able to take care of your clients. But overall, the industry's changing. We all know that. And the only thing that's going to set you apart from the 400 realtors a week coming in here that are going to fade out when the recession hits is going to be the customer experience. It's what they're always going to remember. So that's about it.
Okay. All right, let's shift to a question that that is more lifestyle. I won't say lifestyle balance, but a lifestyle question. What do you consider, and we'll start on this side, working hours?
So I read this question. I thought about it a lot. Are we talking in our industry?
I'm talking for you.
For me. All right. My work hours, I actually try to dedicate my work hours to an 8 to 6. I try to dedicate that. That doesn't include my work that I get done, like Darren I get up in the morning, and when I get back from the gym, that's when I start working. But nobody's up around that time, which is the greatest because you're not going to get any phone calls. So that's when I get kind of I'd say my paperwork done, if you will, for lack of a better term. But I'd say 8 to 6. Yes, in this industry, are you going to have situations where you're going to have to work later? Absolutely. Do I believe that that's a part of this career? Absolutely. Do I happily do it? Most of the time. But I'd say I try my hardest to stop at 6 o'clock.
All right, so here's a question for the panel and the group. If you study the brain makes big buying decisions when it's relaxed. So when the neocortex is involved, when the brain is processing information, which is why people purchase real estate when? When? When are they interested? On the weekends. Almost every big major purchase I make for a real estate deal is typically because I had time on Saturday to think, had a chance to talk to my wife after a busy week. I'm in a relaxed state on Sunday, and I'm like, let's go do that real estate deal. Okay? Now that's me. So my question to you is, if I have that and I call you on Saturday, are we all answering the phone on Saturday, or do you push it to somebody else, or what's your philosophy there?
I answer it on Saturday.
Okay? At any time. What if I call you at 10 o'clock on Saturday night? After a few margaritas.
I mean, if I'm asleep, I'm typically asleep by 10 o'clock, or at least I try.
But does the whole panel take calls at any time and answer those calls, or do they push them to a week? I mean, what's your philosophy on that?
I answer it.
Okay.
As much as I possibly can. If I'm not asleep, I'll answer the phone.
Okay.
I have a few events that, like, I'm not answering no matter what, but other than that, I'm answering all the time.
Okay. So, all right, keep going around the thing. Blake, let's talk about work hours for you.
My answer is still that we are 7 days a week, unless I take vacation.
Okay.
Now, I'll have disciplined, scheduled pockets of time that I carve out. My morning time is like what you said earlier. That's the time you have control over. After 9 o'clock, I tell my team this all the time, after 9 o'clock, all bets are off. I mean, you have to be reactive still sometimes in the business, and then have to go back and catch up. And yeah, there's late nights right now. I've been getting home after 7 every night this week still, just to get the work done. So it's work till the work is done, is the answer. But I think you have to have time where you are scheduled for yourself. You still have to have time where you have date nights with your wife. I think it's very important to have some respectable shut-off times.
Yep.
But outside of that, right now, you have to go.
Okay. What if you're working for your first deal, trying to make money?
I'll be 1 o'clock in the morning.
When will you answer the phone? Whenever it rings.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? All right. Jessica, work schedule, work day. How do you find a work day?
Mine's probably a little bit different than most people's. But I wake up around 6:30. I don't really start anything work related till around 8:30 usually. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and my husband is overseas or gone at least Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday every week. So most days from 4:30 to 7, I try my hardest not to do client things because I do have people that I pay to show houses. So if I can go, I'll go, but most of the time I do try to dedicate that time to my kids. And then I am guilty of the 8 to 12 after their sleep crunch session of catching up on everything.
Okay.
I try my hardest not to do that too, but I'm really bad about that. You'll see me posting in 45 Facebook groups, so I see you looking at me.
Okay.
Yeah, so unless it's a date night or I'm at church, we're working.
Good answer, Johnny. Good answer.
I can tell you, with 21 years in this business, there's a direct correlation between how much I work and how much I make. So there's been times in my career when I turned the TV on and I watched the Today Show and I drank a cup of coffee on the couch and I didn't do much until like 10:30, and then I might go get my nails done, and then I would go to the gym, and then I might take one appointment, and I hated my income. And I was what I would told myself I was a full-time agent at the time, but in all actuality, I was probably working about 20 hours a week. Now I work definitely full-time and have been since the recession.
Yeah.
There's no other choice. But I would say my work hours are, depending on who gets to go to the gym first, because we rotate too, unfortunately, because we have a child. For me, 7 to 6, I would say, but I also do my personal business during the middle of the day as well. So if my neck hurts and I need a massage, my days, this will be real shocking, I'm sure, not. I don't have a calendar that I have a 30-minute increments of appointments. Sean has tried to train me. We worked on it really hard for about 30 days. It stressed me out. I can't stand it, and I don't want anybody to know my calendar. Because if I want to read my book in the parking lot for 15 minutes, that's what I'm going to do. So for me, that didn't work. So my work day and my personal day kind of connect from 7 until 6.
It's good.
And don't sell yourself short. She works the thing is she gets up every day and she goes to work every single day. Now, weekends are different, and that's the same for me too. I mean, the bottom line is Monday through Friday, it's like I'm clocking in. So I would say the average hour, for me, it's like 6 till 6:30, probably. But somewhere in that window, somewhere between 7 and 9, I'm at the gym for an hour doing some crazy stuff there, and which is a good outlet for me. I like it. And other than that, I'm putting those hours in. And then to answer your question more so, like, when do you turn it off? So for me, after 6 at night and on the weekends, by appointment. So if it's an important phone call, I take it. If it can go the next day, I do it. A lot of times I've got a text on my phone that I put on there, and there may be some people who have gotten this from me when you've called. This is, I'm not currently available, but I can text, is what my text says, and I reply back with that. And that might mean that I'm watching a movie on the couch with my wife. And if it's something really important, then I'm like, honey, I got to take this. They'll text back or leave a voicemail and come back. Yep. And the same on the weekends, I usually take the call if I can, unless it's after 5 or so on the weekends, and I'll put that text out there saying I'm not available, but I can text.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
One of the things I think we found today when we did the generational gap is it doesn't matter which generation they're from, they all put in the work. They all put in the work. A lot of people get into real estate thinking they're going to drive Cadillacs and cash big checks and it's going to be easy. And that's not true. It ain't easy, okay? So if you come into this believing, I don't have to put the work in, but we're going to produce something, every one of these people, no matter which generation they're from, gets up and puts the work in, okay? And that's a big takeaway for me today. So Sean, you want to come up and end us up here? Number one, give these guys a hand. They did a great job today.
Coach, we appreciate you. We appreciate you bringing your skill set up here. Everybody give Coach a round of applause, too. I'm going to go ahead and get your permission right now. First of all, I find the last 10 minutes is usually where people want to tune out, jump out. This is where I want to just make sure to give a little bit of honor. First thing, though, I'm going to ask you for your permission. Did everybody receive something here that they feel is going to impact their business and their life today? Raise your hand, okay? All right, cool. So that is your permission. I'm going to be giving Coach a total of about 50 referrals today, and he will be calling you. He wants to find out what he can do to help out your business. Take the time to see what they are offering, because if you got something from him just during this time, imagine what it does on a consistent basis in your business. So I want to also say thank you to each one of you guys. I went ahead and purchased a copy of Coach's last book. He has another one coming out soon, Inside the Mind of a Monster.
Inside the Mind of a Monster.
And when will that be out?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. But for now, we're going to give each one of you guys a copy of Everybody Needs a Coach in Life.
Good. Thank you for that.
So as a thank you gift, if you'll pass that along, Derek. Thank you. Wow, I got 2 pages of notes. I do an honor call when your clients leave my office. Hey, Derek, extremely honored. I know you just left the office. I just want to call you before I wrapped up for the day and tell you, I know there's a million mortgage lenders out there, and you choosing me means a lot. Me and my team are going to work our butts off for you. Thank you so much for choosing us. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to send it in a video now. Who was it that sent? Johnny, was it you? I'm going to send that in a video. 10-day, 30-day, 60-day follow-up calls, Coach. I mean, do that in the driveway. If you just left the listing appointment or buyer consult, hey, I know I'm just driving away, getting ready to leave, but I just want to send you a quick video to tell you thank you. You would earn my business. Me and my wife would be like, wow, if he follows up like that, imagine what it's like with the clients. Tagging, triangle of trust. When you feel like you hit that roadblock, go back to the referral source, even if you don't know them. Hey, I'm completely not trying to wear you out, but Derek sent you over to me, and I wanted to be diligent in my follow-up, make sure I didn't drop the ball. It's a great, no, Sean, we've just been busy for a couple of days. You'll be surprised. So I got 2 pages of notes. This was good stuff. Thank you. Do me a favor. Open up this, okay? So everybody got something of value. Hopefully we're going to save some time in your life. We're going to help you build a better quality business. I'm only asking for one thing. Please do not leave this room without filling this form out. I'll give you 3 options. Number 1, if there's a client that we can help, yes, we do mortgage loans. I would love to speak to your next client. Katie and Jeff would love to speak to your next client. Please just give us a shot. Let us show you what we're made of. Some of you, we're already working with you, and we so appreciate you. Second thing is, you can give us, who's another realtor you work with that would value something like this? We get it. Not every realtor values something like this. That's okay. But who is a realtor that you wish could have been here or should have been here? Or the third person you can give us is, who is a loan officer, and we will keep it private, but who is a loan officer in this business that needs to be waving the Legacy Mutual mortgage flag? We have an office in Murfreesboro, Brentwood, Cool Springs, and we're going to end up having probably 1 or 2 more offices here very soon. And I need y'all's help because I need loan officers that are like you, that you work with, that have the same characteristics as we do. So write their name down. I'll follow up privately. I'm a master at finding angles to follow up without giving them your name. But I would appreciate if you take the time to fill that out. As a thank you, we will be doing a happy hour at Bonefish Grill next door. I will buy the first drink, the first round for everybody, whoever wants to come over. And I find that that's sometimes the best time to talk shop and do some follow-up appointments. You guys might have met another realtor in here that you want to go have a cup of coffee with or learn a little bit more about their business. Come over, have a drink, get belly to belly, and we'll wrap up the day. So thank you guys for coming. Katie, Jeff, and then the 2 people back there, Jasmine and Seth, please let's give them a round of applause. They organized all of this.